Hi guys, welcome back. It's Algebra 1, Lesson 5. Today we're going to be talking about integers. So exciting. I should have written that on here. Integers. That is positive and negative numbers, and we're going to be adding and subtracting those. If you're following along at home, Algebra 1, third edition for the Saxon book, Lesson 5. All right, so first things first, you'll see the Lesson 5 opens with talking about sets. Sets are groups of numbers. So if we were to say all counting numbers, our set would say all you see for counting equals, and we use this on the side there, and we do 1, 2, 3, comma, dot, 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 forever and ever. 3 dots, right? Means it goes on forever, and then we close it. This is called a set. It'll come in handy when we talk a little bit later about some other things, but if you see numbers written like that, it's just saying, hey, it's group, right? Sometimes the sets end, sometimes they don't. This one just goes on. Those 3 dots show that they go on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is absolute value. Absolute value just means I want to know how far away from 0 something is on a number line. So, for example, if I say 2, and this is denoted by these lovely little lines like this. This is the absolute value of 2. I know that that's going to come 1, 2 spots from 0. So that equals 2. The absolute value of -2 is also 1, 2 spots away from 0, so that's going to be 2. So essentially, absolute value is always positive, and it's just that negative number written positive. If it's already positive, leave it like that. -17 equals 17. Absolute value of 18 equals 18. Okay, now when you see something like this, 3 plus 2 in absolute value, that's 5, okay? But you always want to do this stuff first in the absolute value. Treat it like you would a parenthesis or a grouping, right? So you would always do your stuff in the parentheses first. And this is going to come in handy because we're going to talk about positive and negative numbers now, okay? So let's talk, there's going to be some examples in the book, and I'm going to teach a little bit differently than the way the book teaches, all right? We know that on our number line, if we have 5 in the positive direction, we would write it just like this, right? 5. Sometimes you can put a little plus sign there, but it's assumed to be positive if there's no sign. Let's say we have 5 plus -3. 5 plus -3. Here's our 0, -1, -2, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 and 1. So from 5 and -3 here, 5 to -3. I think visualizing this on a number line is a little bit harder because what we're going to be doing, this is the negative and this is the positive direction. We actually don't deal with the -3 here, okay? On a number line, this is where we start. So we start at 5. This tells us we're going in the negative direction. It's the same thing as subtracting. We're going to go in the negative direction. 3 spots. 1, 2, and 3. We land on 2. 5 and -3 is positive 2. I think an easier way to deal with this is going to be, I'm going to show you some chips that I think are easier. So we have 5 plus -3. On our yellow team is positive, so we're going to get 5 yellows out here. And our red team is the negative. So we have 3 red chips here, okay? The way this works is we take this, they cancel out. This, they cancel out. This, they cancel out. We are left with, on the positive team, 2. And you may hear me say this, positive and negative team. I think it's a lot easier to visualize it that way. So for example, if I have 10 plus -7, what you want to ask yourself, especially when these signs are different, this is our positive team, this is our negative team. Which team is larger? Which team has the more members? Looks like it's our positive team, right? That means our answer is going to be positive. By how many? By how many? I'm asking for the difference in the teams. And if we're talking math to English, difference means subtract. So the positive team is larger by 3. Positive team is larger by 3. On the flip side, if I have -17 plus 10, which team is larger? Is our negative team larger or our positive team? Looks like it's our negative team. And by how many? 7. Okay, so let's try another one. -10 plus 2. Pause this. See if you can answer it. Good. If you said that the negative team is larger by 8, you got the correct answer. Okay? Negative team is larger by 8. Let's try another one. 25 plus -5. Which team is larger, our positive team or our negative team? It's like our positive, I almost just wrote negative. It looks like our positive team is larger, so we can put a little plus sign to help us remember. And it's larger by how many? Well, there's 20 extra players on the positive team than there are on the negative team. Negative team. Good. So, with that said, sometimes that's adding different signs, right? We've got -17 plus 3. Which team is larger? Looks like our negative team has a lot more players. By how many? 14. By 14, okay? Now, when you have them on the same team, this is going to be a little bit different. -3 and -5. Well, they're both on the same team. How big is our team now? Our team is now 8. 8 people big, okay? 8 people big. -10 plus -3. It's still the negative team. That hasn't changed at all. It's going to be -13. -13, okay? Let's see some other ones that we have here. Let's try some of these. For example 5.6. So you'll see in the Saxon book that they talk a lot about using the number lines. If that works for you, great. I think the team method, in the 15 years that I've been doing this, that team method seems to be working the best. So let's look at example 5.6. We have -4 plus a +2, and they put a little plus sign in there, but I'm going to leave it out, plus a -1 plus a +5. The best way to deal with this is gather up our teams. -4, -1. That team is the negative team, and it is now 5 big. Okay, 5 big. Plus, we have our positive team here, 2 and 5. That gives us 7. Now we're ready to determine which team is larger. Well, it looks like our positive team is larger. By how many? 2. By 2, okay? Now, this leads right into I'm going to jump a little bit ahead here, but we do, actually, I'll pause for right now, but what I want you to do is go ahead and flip to page 28, practice A through G. Go ahead and pause this, do page 28, A through G. When you're ready, unpause it, and we'll do those together. So for A, the absolute value of -4, again, that is 4 away from 0. For B, the absolute value of 4.2, that is again 4.2 away from 0. For C, negative absolute value, 10 minus 6 equals, well, on the absolute value part, we get a 4, right? So we have on the outside a negative, this equals 4. So our answer, -4. All right, for D, negative absolute value, -14 plus 6. Let's do the inside part first, because like I said, we treat these like parentheses. Which team is larger? Looks like it's our negative team. By how many? Well, looks like there's 8 more on the negative team than there are on the positive team. The absolute value of -8, and so I brought everything else down, right? I'm going to bring this down, and the absolute value of -8 is +8, but we still have to slap that negative on the outside. So our answer is actually going to be -8. Good. All right. So then for E through G, it says to draw a number line. You don't really have to do that if you've got a good understanding of it. So 3 plus 2, that's going to give us 5. F is -3 plus 2, which gives us our negative team is larger by 1. And G, we have -5 plus 2 plus -3 plus 3. Let's gather up our teams. We have a -5 and a -3. The negative team is now 8 people big. The positive team is now 5 people big. Which team is larger? Looks like our negative team is larger, and by how many? 3. Excellent. Good work. We will get into some subtraction in our next lesson. Thank you for joining me.